under attack.
Don't keep your...
Field depleted. By your will.
Yo, 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 YouTube, what's up? I'm coming at you with my new YouTube series, How the F Do I? And what this series is all about, it's about how to stop specific build orders, how to play in specific matchups, how to play against specific styles, and how to overall play against specific strategies. And I really hope that this build order is going to help a lot of you guys out there. Had people come up to me time and time again, ask me, how do I hold this? How do I hold that? How do you play against this? I've had people ask me these questions a lot, and I really wanted to make a YouTube series to answer some of these questions and hopefully help a lot of you guys out there. And I really hope you guys are looking forward to seeing more of these videos, because there's going to be a lot of them in the near future, especially if you guys hit that like button, especially if you hit that subscribe button, guys. I would really appreciate it. It really shows that you guys like the videos, and it motivates me to make more and more of them. And basically, there's one question that I've been asked countless times. And the question is, how do I beat Protoss? Is Protoss imba? Is Protoss OP? The answer to the question is simple. Protoss is not overpowered. There are ways to beat Protoss. Is it easy? No, but nothing in StarCraft is easy, guys, and we're not trying to find the easy way out. We're not trying to quit. We're not trying to give up. We're going to figure out how to beat Protoss together. Alright, guys, here we go. And as you can see, it's just your standard ladder Terran versus Protoss. We have our SCV heading across the map. And what are we going to do with this SCV? Well, there's not many things you would do with an SCV. Moving across the map this early in the game, of course, we're going to proxy a barracks, and we're going to make some Reapers out of that barracks. Why are we going to do that? There's a few reasons why you would want to proxy a Reaper against Protoss. First of all, proxy Reaper against Protoss, especially with only one barracks, has no threat of actually killing the Protoss almost ever. The reason we're doing this is, first of all, to scare the Protoss, give him a little bit of fear, make him think about what the Terran player is doing, you know, how many barracks are proxied, what's going to come out of those barracks, is there going to be a factory proxied with it? Where is the barracks? Is it even proxied? Is it just a fake? Could it be here? Could it be here? You don't know these things as the Protoss player. And just something as simple as just proxying one barracks across the map really does instill fear into the Protoss player. As you can see, he's just trying to be a little annoying with his probe here. But what we're going to be doing with this Reaper, the main reason is to try and keep the Protoss player at home, as well as, like we said, scare him and make him really question what it is that we're doing. Just chasing this probe away. And what these Reapers are going to do other than those two things, they even serve a third function. And the third function is we can see what it is that the Protoss player is doing, which is probably the most important part of all. Why is that the most important part of all? The reason it's the most important part of all is because when you know what the Protoss is playing, when you know what the Protoss is making, you know exactly what to make. There's what I would call supporting units for the Terran player in this matchup. What are the supporting units? The supporting units are your siege tanks, they're your widow mines, they're your ghosts, your Vikings, your liberators. And why are they supporting units? Well, the core of your army is, of course, Marine, Marauder, and Medevac. And everything else is added to the army as counters to specific things that the Protoss is making. And what these Reapers are going to allow us to do is see what the Protoss is making so we in turn know what to make. If the Protoss player is making a fast Stargate, we'll know that we want an engineering bay. We'll know that we want to make maybe some Cyclones. We'll know that we want to make units that can shoot air. Maybe even just some Widow Mines defensively. If they're making a Robo, we might want to make some Siege Tanks. We might want to make Liberators, a Viking for a Warp Prism, perhaps. So you really just want to know what the Protoss is making. More importantly than anything else. And as you can see here, we're getting these Drilling Claws upgrades. He sees the Widow Mine, so he knows that there's a very large possibility that a Widow Mine drop is coming. So just as we know what the Protoss is doing, he too knows what we're doing. But again, these Reapers, not to do damage, just to scout, just to see what the Protoss player is up to. They haven't done damage. As you can see here, these Reapers have 1 kill between the two of them. But even though they only have 1 kill, we forced a shield battery in the main base. We forced a Robo to be built earlier than he would have liked. How do we know this is built earlier than he would have liked? He made multiple Stalkers very quickly. Chrono boosted them out, in fact. And normally when a Protoss player does this, they want to open with Blink. But he knows that these Widow Mines are on the way and he needs detection. So he even has to build Photon Cannons. This is all indirect damage done to the Protoss player. All things that he didn't want to build, and our lead is gaining. And we even get the Widow Mine in here. At the same time, we're sending this Reaper in. Let's see where his vision is. He's looking down here. He believes that there's a possibility of a frontal attack. He's building a shield battery. Meanwhile, in his main base, what's happening? These Widow Mines. How many kills? 3. And 7 on the other. So we killed 11 workers total. 10 workers just with the Widow Mine drop. He had a cannon in position. And the Widow Mine drop still killed 10 workers. Widow Mine drops are quite possibly the hardest thing for Protoss to deal with in this matchup. Widow Mine drops can easily win you the game very early. They're not actually meant to win you the game. What they're meant to do is keep the Protoss at home. And they're also meant to allow you to get a good scout of their base. These are things that those Reapers did for us at the beginning of the game. And that's just generally what you want as the Terran player. You want to be able to identify what it is the Protoss player is doing at all times. And you want the Protoss player to be defending. Terran doesn't really want to be the defender, especially not at this phase of the game. Because Protoss will really tech up quickly and get a lot of quick upgrades at home if they can force the Terran player to be defensive. I'm sure you've all played against it. You're getting attacked by Zealots, you're getting attacked by Stalkers, and by the time you finally defend and push across the map, they have Colossus, they have Cyclone, they have upgrades, and that's very difficult to deal with. As you can see in this game, the Protoss already has a really late Nexus. Ideally, the Protoss' Nexus would have been finished by now. And why is this Nexus so late? The reason this Nexus is so late is because of all of that indirect damage. Think about this for a second. 100 minerals, 250 minerals, 400 minerals. That's a Nexus right there between those units. Or buildings, rather, sorry. But all of this indirect damage has forced his base to be extremely late. And if you look at the income, he's only 4 workers ahead. That is not a place where Protoss wants to be. Terran has mules. If you look at the mineral income, our income is much higher than his. We've got siege tanks at home to defend against potential blink stalkers or warp prisms. He's going Colossus, as we can see here, which is excellent for us. We did scout that Robo early, so we knew that his splash damage of choice was likely to be Colossus or Disruptors, which is why we made these siege tanks, and these siege tanks are going to be wonderful against Colossus. You can see he's making an Immortal now. He's decided to opt out of the Colossus for whatever reason, and, you know, it's not a bad choice. If you see one Colossus and you're countering with Vikings instead of siege tanks, you could overmake Vikings very easily, but we've just opted to counter them with siege tanks instead, which I think is the better option these days. Back in the day, people would always make Vikings against Colossus, and I feel like siege tanks are just an overall better option because they're so much better against the Stalkers. They're so much better against the Immortals and the Zealots and everything else. So now we're just going to take our third base. We have a Raven. Ravens are a very good unit in this matchup. They offer detection against Dark Templar. You can use Interference Matrix on key units. And the anti-armor missile in general is just really good because Protoss, almost all their units are armored. Stalker, armored. Colossus, armored. You look at the Zealot is a light unit, but it's also armored. So the missile removes the armor from those units. And obviously, of course, they're going to want to get those upgrades as well. As you can see, we're trying to move out here, and he was trying to attack us as well. He decided instead to turn around, and we're just going to try to push across the map. He's taking his fourth base already. That's a pretty standard fourth base timing. Warping in more Zealots. Zealots are very, very good against siege tanks, depending on the positioning of your units. He has Archons as well, also a very good unit against siege tanks. We're just going to keep pushing down. And we're sieging our tanks very far back, as you can see here. And as you can see, the Terran is just going back. The Protoss, we hit him with a really, really good anti-armor missile. But we're not going to take this fight. Why are we not going to take this fight? Currently, he has the superior supporting cast of units. Remember how we were talking about supporting units earlier? Well, his supporting units here are Archons. And Archons, they're very, very tanky against siege tanks. And we do not have combat shields yet. So these Archons will do massive amounts of damage to the Marines. The siege tanks won't do very much damage to the Archons. And then he's got a lot of Zealots as well. And Zealots, if they can connect with the siege tanks, are very, very strong. So we're just going to, instead of using the anti-armor missile to attack and try to take a good fight, what we're going to do is we're going to use the anti-armor missile to disengage because he sees all his units orange. He doesn't really want to fight with a Doritoed army. So he's going to allow us to just walk away. He's just going to let us walk away. And you see here, he's just gathering his army together. He really wanted to take that fight because we have siege tanks, like I said, and he's got Zealots and Immortals and Archons, which is a very strong unit composition against siege tanks. And our response to that is enhanced shockwaves and ghosts. Ghosts are really, really good against Archons and Zealots. So a lot of the times, Terran does not want to be the defender, but in certain scenarios, you kind of have to defend. So we just want to defend and make sure that we don't die. Take a defensive stance on our side of the map while we wait for our counter to his army. Our supporting units that we need so dearly against these Immortals, against these Archons and Zealots. Now, he really wants to attack us, but he just doesn't know what angle to attack from. We even have a sensor tower down just so that we know where he's coming from. As you can see, he's very, very desperate looking for a fight because he knows that his army would trade very well if he catches us unsieged. What he's really doing here isn't trying to attack into us, but instead hoping that we're attacking towards him and he can catch us unsieged. He thinks he's about to do that. We're going to siege our tanks up. But as you can see here, very, very, very good fight for us. We even got an EMP on some of those Archons. Disable the Colossus. Now, one of the most common tactics by the Protoss. The Zealot run by. Sometimes these are DTs, but most of the time it's Zealots. And this has been the death of many a Terran. And the real key to defending this is to have the units to defend already in position. Have some Widow Mines, have a bunker, siege tanks. Maybe if this is the base, it's a planetarium. You always want static defense at the base where your main army will not be. So our main army is going to be defending our third, and then we're going to have our static defense defending this base normally. But since we don't have that base yet, our static defense will be at this base. As you can see, this Widow Mine, this tank, this bunker. And you always want that static defense there for these run-bys. And if you're just chasing around these units, if you're chasing a War Prism around, you're just falling farther and farther behind. I'm sure everybody's been in that situation before where you're just falling way, way behind. But we have the static defense necessary to deal with this. And we're pushing him across the map. Again, just pushing forward. You never want to get caught unsieged. It's the quickest way to lose a fight that you should win. And the real key to doing that is to make sure you always start sieging farther back than you would like to. You don't really need to just like bum rush their army. You just want to make sure that you always are being covered by your siege tanks so he can't push into you. Always make sure that you can just take maybe like one step back and you're being covered by your siege tanks, like right now. As you can see, we dodged the disruptor shot. Siege tanks and bio have really, really good synergy together. The bio protects the siege tanks from the zealots, and the siege tanks protect the bio from the disruptors and the colossus. And they make such a good pairing together. These EMPs, you know, you drop them on the Archons, and then you just kite back to the tanks. Walk forward, attack, kite back to the tank. Over and over and over again, rinse, repeat. It's really the key to engaging against Protoss' Terran these days, I feel, especially if you're going for that siege tank base composition. So again, you gotta rely on that synergy. Use your bio to defend your tanks from the zealots and the immortals. And you use your tanks to defend your bio from the siege tank, or from the colossus and the disruptors. And as you can see here, we're doing a really good job doing exactly just that. And we're never leaving the sides of our siege tanks. Getting your siege tanks picked off can oftentimes lose you a game, even if you were winning the entire game. So you always want to be as close to your siege tanks as possible, defending them and allowing them also to defend you. You can see he did take 2 more bases over here, playing a little bit greedy. Can't really blame him. He's behind in this game. He's trying to find some sort of way to get back. As you can see, we dodged the disruptor shot there. Now, disruptors are a bane of many a Terran. And how do you deal with disruptors? Well, you can do fancy micro like that, or you can do what we were talking about before. You can poke forward with your bio and then kite back to your tanks and just allow your siege tanks to cover your bio from the disruptors. We're going to pick this one off after EMPing it. That's another trick as well. If you've got really good eyes and reaction time, you can snipe the disruptor before the shot completes, and if you do that, it cancels it completely. No shot anymore. We're gonna disable that Colossus again, and as you can see, we're just pushing on through here. It's completely reflected in the supply. And make no mistake, this isn't, I didn't just pick on some random Protoss or something. This is a very good Protoss player, which is specifically why I chose this one. This Protoss player is 5800. Very good Protoss player, so we're just pushing on through here again, just trying to stay by our tanks. At this point, we kind of have a ridiculous number of siege tanks because we haven't lost any this game. And the game's basically over at this point, but he just doesn't really want to tap out just yet. Again, supporting units are everything. We had this Raven as a supporting unit to anti-armor those zealots. We're defending the zealot run by over here. You can see we have a planetary over here. It's exactly like I said before. You want that static defense to defend a spot. And also, you probably want a rally to defend another spot. As you can see, we have a lot of army here. There was a run by here earlier at some point. You can see some SCVs died. You want your rally defending a vulnerable spot, and you want static defense defending another vulnerable spot. And then you want your main army to, move where it needs to be. You even have these Thors, another supporting unit, just in case they make Tempests or Carriers or something like that, which I thought was a possibility. When he didn't tap out, I said to myself, well, what could he be doing that could actually give him a chance at still winning this game? And the only answer I could come up with was he had some Carriers hidden somewhere, so I started to make some Thors. Quick anti-air. Not the best anti-air, but it is quick anti-air that's pretty good. But alas, he didn't have anything like that. It's just a game that's basically over already, and he's just decided to not leave yet. You can't really blame him. People make mistakes sometimes and allow you to come back into a game you shouldn't be able to win. But that's not going to happen this game, unfortunately, for him. And we're just pushing on through, not really dodging those disruptor shots, kind of just trying to end the game here. Pick off a DT. There's not really much to watch here, so I'm just going to fast forward through that a little bit. And we'll just probably siege up here. And as you can see here, his army's cleaned up completely. He's about to tap out any second now. GG. And that's basically it, guys. So just remember these key tips to beating Protoss. You always want to know what they're doing. Oftentimes, the main reason we lose Protosses is because they do something that we didn't expect. Now, you don't want to expect things and you don't want to suspect things. You want to know things. So there's a lot of different build orders that you can do, such as a Widowmine drop, such as the Proxy Reaper, or maybe even a Hellion run by. There's a lot of different build orders you can do that will allow you to keep the Protoss player at home, so that way you're not at risk of being attacked, because you're very vulnerable in the early game against Protoss, because Protoss units are very, very good against Terran units until you get that stim, that combat shields, and medevacs. So you just want to really keep tabs on them, see what they're up to, and then prepare for what they're doing. If they're going Dark Shrine, you're going to need detection. If they're going Robo, you might need a Viking to deal with a War Prism. You might need some Siege Tanks. You might need some Cyclone if they're going Stargate. If they're going High Templar, you want some EMPs. There's just a lot of different variations of unit compositions that Protoss can make, and you just want to know what they're going to make. That way you know what to make. If you don't know what to make, then oftentimes you're just going to lose. And I feel like that's probably the main reason most people lose against Protoss, is because they're unprepared. And we don't want to be unprepared. We want to be prepared, guys. And I hope this really helped you guys. And I hope that you guys in the future get those MMRs you want, get those wins. And I wish the best of luck to everybody. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys again soon. Take it easy, my dudes. And don't forget to check me out on Twitch. I'll catch you guys around later. See ya.